For 7 decades, the bond between the United States and Canada was like a law of nature. It was constant. It was unquestionable. It was unshakable. America decided, Canada complied. America consumed, Canada supplied. But 3 hours ago, that natural order collapsed. While Washington was distracted by the latest viral tweet, while cable news analysts debated immigration rhetoric, Ottawa stayed silent. No shouting, no protests, no press conferences demanding fairness. They acted. Mark Carney just inked a deal that effectively breaks the U.S. monopoly over North American resources. And the most alarming part for the White House, they didn't even know the meeting took place until it was already done. This is no longer a trade squabble. This is no longer a tariff skirmish. This is a separation. Donald Trump spent half a year trying to corner Canada, treating a trusted G7 ally like a subordinate state, threatening 25% tariffs, then 50%, demanding obedience without respect. He thought he had leverage. He thought he was exploiting a weakness. He was mistaken. He wasn't pressuring them. He was pushing them away. And now, the fallout is about to touch your wallet, your 401k, and your grocery bills. In the next 30 minutes, it'll break down exactly what just unfolded. We'll examine the hidden numbers the White House hoped you wouldn't see. We'll uncover the secret Brussels flight logs that Trump's intelligence team overlooked. And we'll reveal why Mark Carney, the quiet strategist and central banker, just delivered Trump the most significant defeat of his presidency without making a sound. You are witnessing history unfold in real time, and if you live in the United States, brace yourself. This is the turning point. So, let's cut through the noise. What exactly happened today? From Eastern, while Washington slept, Prime Minister Mark Carney's office released a joint statement with the European Union and Japan. It's being called the Critical Supply Security Pact. On the surface, it seems mundane. It reads like bureaucratic paperwork. That's precisely how Carney wants it to appear. Because if you dig into the details, it's a geopolitical tremor. Here's the breakdown. For decades, the United States enjoyed preferred access to Canadian resources: oil, lumber, aluminum, and most crucially, critical minerals, the materials that go into your iPhone, your Tesla, and the F-35 fighter jets. It was an unwritten rule. America consumed first. This morning, that rule was erased. The new pact legally binds Canada to reserve 40% of its critical mineral production for the EU and Japan over the next decade. In return, those countries provide significant upfront infrastructure investment. And here's the kicker: a guaranteed price floor independent of the US dollar. Do you see what that means? Canada just diverted minerals that American factories were counting on. Trump had threatened tariffs to force Canada into a one-sided deal. He believed he could hold the U.S. market hostage. He said, "If you don't follow my terms, you lose American consumers." Carney glanced at that threat and didn't flinch. He simply secured alternative buyers. It's like a landlord threatening eviction, only to discover the tenant quietly bought a mansion down the street and moved out overnight. The leverage is gone. Trump woke up intending to bully Canada at the negotiating table. But the chair was empty. Canada no longer negotiates for U.S. market access. They replaced it. This is a masterclass in strategic leverage, leaving the Trump administration in a nightmare. They need these materials. The U.S. defense sector relies on Canadian cobalt and lithium. They have no alternatives. And now they're behind Germany. They're behind Japan. For the first time in modern history, the U.S. is a secondary partner within its own hemisphere. And the person behind this is rallying crowds. He is hurling insults. Is sitting in Ottawa, monitoring spreadsheets, watching everything unfold as planned. You might wonder, is this really serious? Is it just political theater? Let's check the evidence. First, the market reaction. Look at these tickers for 3 major U.S. battery manufacturers at 9:30 a.m. this morning. Down 8%, down 12%, down 15%. Why? Because investors can read the situation. The Brussels pact signals their supply chain has been halved. If Canada sends lithium to Europe, it won't reach Michigan. It won't reach Texas. Now, turn to the Toronto Stock Exchange. Mining and energy sectors are up. The market is signaling Canada just won. Second, border activity. Reports from the Ambassador Bridge, North America's busiest crossing, are revealing typically slowdowns hurt Canada, but today delays are on the American side. U.S. Customs officers are scrambling. Rumors suggest new DHS orders to inspect strategic goods, but the trucks aren't heading south. Drone footage shows a 20% drop in southbound commercial traffic. This isn't a strike. It isn't a blockade. It's a reroute. Goods are moving to rail and ports in Montreal and Vancouver. They're going east and west, not south. Third, a leaked memo. An internal U.S. Commerce Department memo surfaced an hour ago. We can't show all of it, but one line stands out. Current inventory of processed nickel supports 45 days of production. Alternative sourcing from Indonesia requires 6 months. Did you catch that? 45 days. Trump acts as if time is on his side. He acts as if Canada is desperate, but U.S. factories have only 45 days before raw materials run out, and Carney timed it perfectly. He waited for U.S. inventories to tighten, then sealed the deal with Europe. He engineered a scarcity shock. This is what happens when a reality TV star faces a central banker. One seeks ratings, the other seeks leverage. Trump plays checkers. Carney plays 3D chess and just captured the queen. To understand why this happened, you must understand Trump's psychology. Trump sees every interaction as a dominance game. For him to win, the other side must lose. He believes U.S. size grants him absolute bargaining power. He thinks fear is the currency that matters. For a year, he has wielded fear against Canada. He threatened the Auto Pact. He mocked leaders. He threatened militarized borders over asylum seekers. He treated Canada as a problem, not a partner. He assumed they'd fold. He assumed politeness equaled weakness. He assumed need equaled compliance. But Trump miscalculated. Canada has alternatives. Trump is stuck in 1985. He thinks the world still spins solely around the American consumer. He believes cutting off the U.S. market starves the rest. But it's 2026. Europe craves energy independence. Asia demands food and fertilizer. Carney saw this. Carney understands global dynamics Trump cannot. While Trump shouted threats, Carney made discreet calls. Trump is losing control because tariffs don't work here. Think about it. If Trump imposes tariffs now, what happens? Canada already sold those goods to Europe. They aren't heading here. You can't tax what is coming. Trump stands pointing a gun, but Canada is gone, and panic is visible. Look at his Truth Social posts today. Frantic caps lock, exclamation points. Calling Carney a traitor, labeling the U scammers. That is not victory. That is the sound of a man outplayed. He's rallying his base. He's framing this as an attack on America. But insiders know the truth. They pushed Canada too far, and Canada pushed back. Trump can't fix this with a call. He can't fix it with a rally. Contracts are signed. Ships are booked. This pivot is legal and binding. Trump is trapped by his own actions. He broke trust. Now he pays the price. Let's talk about Mark Carney. You need to understand his background. He led the Bank of Canada through the 2008 crisis, shielding the nation from disaster. Later, he ran the Bank of England. He is a technician, a systems thinker. He relies on analysis, not gut feeling. When Trump threatened Canada, Carney didn't respond angrily. No Twitter wars, no insults. He went silent. That silence was strategic. Carney grasps what Trump has not. Sovereignty is not about waving flags. It's about options. It's about the power to say no. To say no to the U.S., you need a backup plan. Carney has executed a historically significant move. He's redefining Canada's global role. For a century, Canada saw itself as America's partner. Now Carney positions it as a global resource powerhouse. He bets on a simple truth: the world needs Canada. Water, uranium, potash, rare earths. He declares, we're open for business, not bullying. This isn't anti-American. Carney respects the U.S. has lived here. worked here, but he's realistic. He sees Trump's instability. He sees America turning inward, is shielding Canada from fallout, is building a firewall, calm, calculated, cold-blooded, is not burning bridges, is building alternatives, so America is the only exit. That's why it's effective. Hard to demonize? Not attacking the Constitution, just signing trade deals, just doing business. How does Trump fight that? How do you confront someone playing by market rules the U.S. claims to champion? Carney turned capitalism against the capitalist king. Why does this matter to you? If you're in Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, why care about Canada trade? Because Canada touches every part of your life. Want cheap electricity? Canada powers much of the U.S. grid. Affordable housing. Canadian lumber builds American homes. Drive a car. Canadian oil fuels refineries. If the split continues, costs hit your kitchen table. Let's imagine the consequences. If Canada sends oil to Asia via new pipelines, Midwest U.S. refineries see shortages. Gas prices spike not by cents, but by dollars. If aluminum goes to Europe, beer cans, cars, construction materials in the U.S. cost more. Inflation will surge. Not because of the Fed, because the northern supply chain is severed. And it's bigger than money. Safety is at stake. The world is unstable. Russia, China, Middle East. For generations, Americans slept easy knowing the northern border was secure, a reliable friend. Trump is eroding that trust, turning a friend into a competitor. Picture Canada neutral, not hostile, just independent. Chinese firms building Alberta infrastructure after U.S. companies were sidelined. European defense contractors choosing Canadian tech first. That's Carney's vision, not to harm America, but to safeguard Canada. You are witnessing the fall of the North American fortress. Once trust collapses, it cannot simply be restored. A photo is circulating, taken this morning at the U.S. Department of Commerce, a working group on cross-border energy. Look at the empty chair. For 70 years, Canada filled that chair. Through wars, recessions, presidencies, good and bad, they were there. Today, absent. That empty chair sends the loudest message Trump has ever received. We don't need you anymore. We have alternatives. Carney didn't shout. He simply withdrew. And the silence is deafening. Where do we go from here? Dangerous territory. Scenario A: Trump escalates. Most likely, humiliated, he lashes out, closes borders, imposes 100% tariffs. This would crash the U.S. auto industry within a week. Trigger a recession in 30 days. Economic suicide, but ego might demand it. Trade war worse than the China conflict. Scenario B: corporate revolt. U.S. CEOs from Ford, GM, Boeing confront Trump. Warn him he's harming them. Force a retreat. This is Carney's hope. Counting on American business to act sensibly. Squeezing them to squeeze Trump. Scenario C: permanent separation. Long-term reality. Even if patched next week, damage remains. Canada learned the lesson. America is unreliable. They'll keep diversifying, building ports to Asia, signing deals with Europe, exclusive U.S. accessions. American home court advantage is gone. Trump promised America first. By treating allies like enemies, he leaves America alone. The next days are critical. Expect noise. Trump calling betrayal. Surrogates pushing sanctions. But remember, this wasn't an attack. It was a response. A response to bullying. A response to instability. Canada just affirmed sovereignty, not subservience. Mark Carney proved you can outsmart a bully if you're prepared, patient, and strategic. The question now, not what Canada will do they moved. Can America admit it was wrong? Can Trump show humility? If not, the border you thought was a line becomes a costly wall. A generation will pay. This story evolves fast. We're monitoring ports, monitoring markets, watching the White House. Do you think Carney went too far, or was this the only way to grab Trump's attention? Is Canada right to seek other partners? Share your thoughts in the comments. This debate is necessary. And if you want the truth about what's happening to your economy with truth, mainstream media, avoid, subscribe, and hit the bell. We're tracking this angle. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant.